Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are getting right into Thomas Paine's 1776 pamphlet, Common Sense.
And we should be clear, this wasn't just some political argument.
No, not at all. It was more like a revolutionary firebomb aimed squarely at the whole idea of kings.
It really was. Our mission today is to unpack his central argument against hereditary power.
So he isn't just saying, hey, King George is a bad king.
No, he's going much deeper. He's saying the entire system, the idea of inherited rule, is fundamentally illogical. He calls it a profound injustice that has, and I'm quoting here, laid the world in blood and ashes.
Wow. That is a massive claim to make in 1776.
A huge claim.
Okay, so to get there, he first separates the ideas of society and government. Why does he need to do that before he can attack the monarchy?
It's a really sharp and useful distinction. For him, society is a positive. It's a blessing arising from human wants. It's about cooperation.
Right.
Government, on the other hand, is just a necessary evil. It only exists because of, human wickedness. Its only job is to restrain our vices.
So government is just a necessary fence. And the moment you introduce inherited kings, the whole thing becomes, well, arbitrary.
Precisely. Paine argues that all men are created equal, so this distinction between kings and subjects is completely artificial. There's no basis for it in nature or even scripture.
And he has some pretty strong language for it.
He really does. He controversially said that monarchy was the most prosperous invention the devil ever set on foot.
And this gets us to the core of the injustice, right? He says hereditary succession is an insult and an imposition on posterity. What does he mean by that?
Well, it's an insult because the people who choose the first king cannot, without manifest injustice to their children, promise to put all future generations under the rule of, say, a rogue or a fool.
So you're giving away a right that isn't yours to give. You're gambling with your children's future.
Exactly. And I love how he uses nature itself to ridicule the idea.
The famous line.
The famous line. He says nature frequently turns hereditary right into ridicule by giving mankind an ass for a lion.
It's just an undeniable truth, isn't it? Talent doesn't just pass down through a bloodline.
Not at all.
So let's talk about the practical danger. What happens when power is guaranteed by birth, not by merit?
The rulers become unfit and they grow insolent quickly. Paine writes that men who look upon themselves born to reign and others to obey soon grow insolent.
Okay.
Because they're early poisoned by importance, they often end up being the most ignorant and unfit of any throughout the dominions.
And even if the king isn't actively evil, the system itself has these structural defects that make the public vulnerable.
Yeah.
What are those?
There are two main risks. First, the throne can be possessed by a minor, a child. That creates a regency, and that's almost always a situation where people exploit the power vacuum.
And the second risk?
The king is worn out with age and infirmity. In both cases, the public becomes, as he puts it, a prey to every miscreant. There's just no real leadership.
Now, the biggest defense of hereditary rule was always stability. The idea that it prevents civil wars over who gets the crown.
Right, the great myth of stability.
But Paine just demolishes that argument using England's own history.
He does. He points out that since the Norman conquest, England had seen 8 civil wars and 19 rebellions.
So much for stability.
Exactly. He specifically brings up the wars between York and Lancaster, which laid England in a scene of blood for many years. So the system actually causes the very violence it's supposed to prevent.
So if the whole system is illogical, dangerous, and prone to violence, what's Paine's final, ultimate condemnation?
He delivers one of his sharpest lines. He basically calls the system oppressive and superstitious, something based on blind adherence rather than reason. He says, monarchy in every instance is the Popery of Government.
A huge thing to say at the time.
Immense.
So Paine's critique, by focusing just on common sense, reframed the American cause.
Yeah.
It wasn't about a financial squabble anymore.
No, it became a moral necessity to reject an illogical injustice. He proved that the whole system is pernicious.
So if hereditary succession handing over control based on birth rather than worth is absurd, the provocative thought we want to leave you with is this. What systems today in your life or in society do we accept out of long habit that are equally illogical, equally pernicious, just because we've been taught not to question them?
Something to chew on.